Well, SABC News reporter Nozintombi Miya has been following the story. Welcome to you in studio. Sure, I mean, they are nitpicking, going line by line, looking at agreements that were made, minuted or not minuted. I guess because the stakes are very high here for David Makhura.
Absolutely. But, you know, just to put context about why they're going line by line, you'll remember about 2 weeks ago, or let's say earlier this month in May, that former Health MEC Qedani Mahlangu had said that in the meeting of November 2014, that's where the Premier, along with the Finance MEC and high-ranking executives, had basically put pressure on them to make the decision to cut costs because the department in itself had been known to be one of those very badly performing departments where there was a lot of corruption, overspending, underspending, that kind of stuff. So she'd said that there'd been a lot of pressure to ensure that there were cost-cutting measures put in place. And she'd said it was at that meeting in 2014 where her department had announced to the Premier's Executive Council that they would be terminating their contract with Life Esidimeni, and that it had been approved of by the Premier, then Premier, as well as the MEC for Finance. And that's what her defense has been. And what her lawyer today, and her lawyer is Advocate Lawrence Hodes, who we just saw cross-examining the former Premier, what he's trying to do, he is trying to ascertain from the former Premier whether or not the recording of that meeting was recorded factually. Every single line item that was discussed was recorded. You recall that Mahlangu had said that not everything had been recorded. And, you know, it does seem at this point that Hodes is getting some concessions from the former Premier, where he's explaining, yes, well, you know, this was an issue that affected all the departments, so it wasn't going to be a line item specifically for the health department, a concession. So he is kind of sort of lending to a certain extent some sort of credibility or credence to Mahlangu's defense that all the information that had been recorded or was supposed to be recorded in that 2014 meeting in November were not recorded as it should have been.
Okay, but let's clarify exactly what he has conceded, and correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like David Makhura is saying, yes, we asked for cost-cutting measures. Has he said that related specifically to Life Esidimeni? Have he said they wanted Life Esidimeni, that contract to go?
So in his testimony in chief earlier, which was led by his lawyer, Advocate William Makhura, he'd said that they called for cost reduction measures, not necessarily cost saving, and that they were not going through austerity, and that one of the line items had been Esidimeni, and that they questioned the health department as to whether or not they had first sufficient capacity to house at that time they thought it was 2,000 patients, but we've subsequently gotten to know that it was obviously more than that. And they at that time wanted to find out whether the public healthcare facilities were able to accommodate all these patients that were being removed from the private healthcare facility to the public healthcare facility. And he said that they had been given the assurance that they would have the money and they would have the resources and the facilities. And he said he wishes that he had pushed them harder on that point to try and get proper clarity and proper resolution, because that's where the wheels fell off from the cart, because nobody really did a proper oversight. And what we're finding now is that the health officials are all blaming the Premier's Budget Committee. The Premier's Budget Committee saying, well, I mean, we don't have, you know, the right to cancel contracts. It's supposed to be the department. Everybody's blaming everybody.
And he's, I mean, moving patients is one thing if it seemed to be safe. So do you think he will ultimately argue, well, I was reassured that it would be a safe move, essentially? He would have no idea that people would die. Would that essentially be his argument?
That's the crux of the problem. I mean, you've really hit the nail on the head there. You know, he was assured verbally, but there were no site inspections by either the Premier's Executive Council. There were limited site inspections by the MEC of Health at that time. The high-ranking Gauteng health officials did not do a site inspection. each and every single level of government at that period failed to do their due diligence. And each one of them needs to take accountability in their part that led to the deaths of 144 people.
Sure. Yeah, and I think a lot of people want some sort of accountability. This is not okay. 144 people died in the end. Thank you very much. On top of that is Nozintombi Miya following the Life Esidimeni hearings.